How you doing, everybody? My name is Deshaun, and today I'm going to be reading the daily devotional titled Living Home. This is coming from Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. Ruth said, "Do not press me to leave you or to turn back from following you. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." I'll be home for Christmas. Binge Crosby. Home is where the heart is. Pliny the Elder. Wherever I lay my hat, that's my home. Marvin Gaye. Home is where you feel at home and are treated well. Delilah Lama. Where do you consider your home? For Ruth, it was the land of Moab. She had lived there all her life. Her friends, her family were there. Her people, the Moabites, were there. She had met and married her husband, son of Naomi, from Bethlehem in Judah, there. Moab was not Naomi's home. She, her husband, and her sons had arrived 10 years before because of the famine in Judah. During the time in Moab, Naomi's husband and both of her sons had died. Now that the famine was over, Naomi would return to her home, Judah. "Go, return each of you to your mother's house," Naomi had told Ruth and Orpah, her daughters-in-law. "May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband." This was coming from verse 8 through 9 of Ruth. Orpah kissed Naomi and left, but Ruth instead insisted that she journey with Naomi to Judah and make home with her. Imagine the courage needed to leave the only home you have ever known, to leave your parents, sisters, brothers, all the relatives and your friends, to journey to a strange land where you only know just one person, a childless widow who has been away for 10 years. Ruth knew about God from her former husband and Naomi. Now Ruth would trust in God for everything, and God would come through as he always does. It's beautiful to know and to hear and to understand that when we do lose somebody who is a structural pillar, that person was a representation of who our Father was. That person was a representation of his love manifested through somebody. That love you experience, that secureness, and that everything you feel. You know exactly what I'm talking about when you think of the loved one you have the most. For Ruth, and yes, as well as Orpah, they both had husbands, the sons of Naomi, and Naomi knew God. So, as a woman, you bleed your religion, your faith, I should say, not even religion, your faith and who you believe in to your kids. You're growing them up. You're teaching them everything you know. So, the two sons were rooted and had faith in Christ. Essentially, we're living a righteous life to say. We're not. They don't give us too details on that, but the point I'm trying to circle back to is that Ruth and Orpah knew who God was, and Ruth decided. Orpah, she wanted to go back home, but Ruth decided, wherever your home is, you're the mother of my husband. I want to be home with you. I want to know everything you know, because how wise you are, how faithful you are in Christ, how faithful you are in God, to know that he is your protector, he is your provider. I have no one left as well. My husband has also died. Your son has died. Teach me your ways in the way of following God. Help me to give me testimony after testimony how I can build my faith to know that he is our provider. So when we go break up down into the context of Ruth, this is coming from Ruth, still chapter 1, verse 11 through 19, and then also hitting verse 22. Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that may become your husband? Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. Even if I thought there was hope for me, even if I should have a husband tonight and bear sons, will you then wait until they're grown? Would you then refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, it has been far more bitter for me than for you, because the hand of the Lord has turned against me. Then they wept aloud again. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. So she said, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Do not press me to leave you or to turn back from following you. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die. There will I be buried. May the Lord do thus." And said to me, and more as well, if death parts from me, if even death parts me from you. When Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more to her. So the two of them went on until they came into Bethlehem. So Naomi returned together with Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, who came back with her from the country of Moab. They came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. So with Naomi didn't even realize. Naomi didn't even realize the influence and the positive light that she gave off, and of course she was mourning her father, her sons, and couldn't quite understand, why are these people hanging around me? I'm mourning. I'm not bringing light right now. But Ruth was like, no, like I see God in you. Yes, you're hurting right now. I'm hurting too. You're hurting more than me, because I just met this man. I became husbands with him, and I was beginning to love him. I was beginning to have him be a structure in my life. But Naomi knew these men. Excuse me. Naomi knew these men. Naomi knew these sons. She grew. She raised them. When mothers raise their sons, the sons become pillars in their lives, because not only do they bring stability and structure, that's just more people to love you. Like, who's gonna love you more than your children? That your children should love you because of everything that you brought them up with, the values that you taught them in life. If you taught them the correct values, just mothers alone birthing children, childbearing is not easy at all, not easy at all. So no, Naomi was really going through this because she just lost two of her sons, and also lost her husband, someone who she was close with. And Ruth, as somebody who's genuinely wanted to be there for Naomi, she had lost everything too. Wanted to genuinely be there for Naomi, and wanted to genuinely know God and know how God's going to touch her life. How she can also reap that benefits as well, from God also touching her life. She wanted to know God. It shows. It says in Scripture. It says, "See, your daughter-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods." It emphasized right there that Orpah wasn't someone who believed in God. Orpah had other people, other religions, other false gods, other false testimonies. That's why she was so quick to leave. She didn't see the signs of the eagerness to follow our God. She didn't. She was had a veil over her eyes, and maybe that veil could have been a mourning of whatnot. That it didn't allow her to seek somebody who had the wisdom and the testimonies of our Father. That was Naomi. Naomi was going through the mud. And Naomi is going through the mud, but she's gonna turn it around in the name of God. So, in terms of the questions for reflection and applications, the first question is, what do you consider your home? How strong is your affinity for your home? I consider home wherever my partner is, just because it doesn't matter where we go, the love is going to remain the same. No matter where we go, Christ is still going to remain the same. Christ is going to follow us wherever we go, because he lives in our hearts. And when we display him through our good works and our good deeds and our good acts of faith, that's where he's at. And he creates home if you allow him to. He creates home in the pure and the clean. If you take care of your business at home, that's where he's going to be. But if you're living a life of sin and having unclean things being in your home, would you want somebody of utter importance, utter meaning? And let's just put it in more simpler terms. If you were knowing that somebody that you loved the most, somebody you cared about the most, somebody you looked up at the most was coming to your house just to visit, would you not clean up your house before they came to visit? Now, say if you didn't clean up your home and that person still came. Now, as human beings, we tend to judge, but as God and as Jesus, He won't judge you still, regardless if your house is home or dirty. But I just come to say that I myself will prefer to have my house clean for when He comes, and that's something I continuously to work on. And I'm a man that likes to work. I'm a man that likes to continuously to work on himself to continuously cleaning his house, so I can constantly invite God in, and not be, I would say, shameful, because I used to feel like that I need to get myself right before I can come to God, but I've come to realize that's completely wrong. I come to God right now as what I am, unclean, so He may clean me. The shame I may have, the guilt I may have, I give it to Him, so He may clean me. He may take that burden away from me. But now that I know that and I've been doing that, I still want to be able to clean myself daily with Him. So, have second question: have you ever decided to move to a location with which you were completely unfamiliar? Why did you move there, and what were the big challenges you faced in adjusting? I mean, I could say that I have done that. I moved quite a lot of times in my lifetime. Had to move somewhere, restart school, friends, the environment, and I would say it kind of made me a chameleon, something that can blend in situation. I used to say that a lot, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more I actually don't want to be a chameleon. If anything, I will want to be an odd goat. And the reason why I say that is, when you're a chameleon, that means that you're, based on your situation, your environment, you're blending in. And not all situations and environment are blend in worthy. You know, I used to say I can adapt and be with whatever type of people. I'm starting to learn that is and not a good trait. In terms of, it's not a good trait, because if that crowd of people that you're blending in with just so you can feel safe are living a sinful life, then you're conforming, um, not to the will of God, but to the worldly, to the enemy. You're saying that you have more faith in yourself and have more faith in the people and the situations around you to take care of it, rather than having faith in Jesus Christ. And having faith in Jesus Christ allows you to stand out. It allows you to go backwards when everybody's walking forward. And to some, it may seem crazy, but wouldn't it be the crazy thing to think about that in reverse? That we are supposed to be going in the other direction while everybody is going backwards. I think about that a lot, and that's why I realize I'd rather stand out to be the scapegoat, the whatever opposes the natural flow, because the natural flow is worldly sin. I want to be on the divine flow. I want to be on the godly flow, where I'm trusting God in every situation, rather than going to prayer, rather than speaking to a follower of Christ, second or third. I'm not God, and I need to stop representing and thinking that I have the ability to manage things on my own, especially things that are out of my situation, out of my control. I bog myself up understanding that, why can't I do this? But I'm training every single day to think, hey, Jesus Christ can do this. Let me put my faith in Him. I a lot of times think of myself, on that challenge, on that boat when Jesus was on the water. I speak of that a lot, keeping Jesus in your vision, in your front view, rather than in your peripherals. I think about that a lot for my own self. And that's why I try to every single day strengthen my faith for when those storms do come. I don't be shaken. I don't be uprooted. I think about that a lot. Would I make it all the way to Jesus on that water? Or would I have sunk as well? Would I have sunk faster? Regardless of what I think, Jesus, the same outcome would have happened. Jesus would have reached down. Jesus would have grabbed me. Jesus would have touched me. And I would have still told him never to let me go. Because if I would have made it all the way through, it was tough. It was hard not to see my situations. And if I would have sunk, he would have took care of me as well. So I'm trying to increase my faith. And I believe Ruth is trying to increase her faith as well. That's why she's decided to follow Naomi, because she realized that if she goes on her own, she's lost. She realized if she goes on her own, there might not be a way out. She might keep sinking deeper and deeper to the sunken place. And Naomi was just trying to feel like she was trying to protect her. Like she was trying to say, go find another husband. Don't feel this sadness forever. But Ruth had made that decision already. Ruth said, if you're doing it, I'm doing it. And that it is tough to leave home. I've done that. I've created and decided to do that. And the biggest challenges was not to be a chameleon, and I was, but I won't be no longer. Out here, I'm moving different than I used to move. I used to live when I used to live in Illinois. I no longer live in Illinois. I live in Michigan now, and I'm living my life and I'm moving different than how I was in Illinois. Yes, in Illinois, did I do the same things I did in Michigan? Yes, but I was also a chameleon too. When I moved in another environment, I blend in. When I was hanging out with certain people, I blend in. That's not what he wants us to do. He wants us to stand out. He wants us to be the light of the world, not to conform to darkness, to not let our light be dimmed. No longer will I fall into that temptation. I will continue to be a bright light into the world, and even if that's odd to anyone else, I'm embracing odd, and I'm embracing um, that type of persecution, because they did the same thing to our father. Did the same thing.